When I first started my pet business back in 2015, I in fact did use non compete clauses. I had in the beginning a low status or lack thinking, living on this contract like a little safety net. I would bring someone on, train them, show them the ins and the out of the operation. And then if I, thought something was weird or off putting, I always had, the non compete in the back of my pocket. But we would make sure that if they ever left, they couldn't just turn around and start competing with us. I'm sure a lot of you listening right now can relate. You've built the business on blood, sweat, tears, and the thought of someone walking away with all of your knowledge and everything you've taught them and showed them kind of feels like a major threat. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the FTC's decision, Federal Trade Commission, to do away with non compete clauses. Recently, the announcement has been made that we can no longer use non competes in our business. And this is going to have a big impact on all of us. So we'll cover, what this means to your business, how this is going to affect your hiring, and what you can do to protect your business in this new era. The FTC's decision to ban non competes essentially means to you that employers can no longer require your employees to sign a contract that restricts them from working for a competitor after leaving your company. So when they leave, they are a free agent. They can use their skills and go to Miami. Little plug on LeBron James there. But they can take their talents wherever. And you would actually think this is a good thing for them just because you remember the days when you worked as an employee yourself. If you learned something, you weren't just going to jump ship and completely leave the industry just because, that company didn't work out. You are going to take your talents and go on doing the things that you love, especially if you're a pet provider. At no point do we really want to take that from someone to be able to continue to help pets as they've done with us. So historically, non-competes were used in a wide range of industries. They're really just like protecting trade secrets. If you have IPs, business practices, that's essentially what they were used for. But in the pet industry, on the other hand, this decision can feel a little bit unsettling, I know, for a lot of us because we squeeze onto our businesses with dear hope. So if you've been using a non-compete up into today, you want to make sure you're thinking about how you can train your employee, give them your best practices, and make sure you can sell them on without feeling like that was a threat. Scary, right? For me, it felt that way in the beginning, back in my pet era, 2015, when I started. It felt scary knowing that people were kind of coming and going. I didn't have my onboarding as tightly sealed as I would have liked to. And we were seeing a lot of turnover in the beginning. Before I really start honing down on what my employees could expect from me, equally selling my business to them, people were coming in and out. Like the doors were flinging. So every 3 months, 4 months, we get new people. But I always knew I had that non compete. And so while non-competes have been a common practice, they're not really foolproof. Like essentially, I could have gone to court with anyone and kind of dished it out. And in most states, they are employee favored over the business, as you all probably know. So with this new ruling now, it's really just official. It really forces us to think differently about how we hire, how we retain people, how we protect the core elements of our business. And something ended up happening with us back in 2016 is I just realized that when I shifted to the collaboration model, I wanted my team to really see that we were a team together. I wanted to build not just me up as a business owner, but I wanted to build them up. And I prayed for them that when they did leave me, they would remember all the skills we learned together and what makes them the person that they are today. I can look back at a lot of the companies I've essentially worked with and a lot of things that I'm teaching and training you all today, I've learned from previous employers that I've had the pleasure of working with. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody if you really think about it that way. So the FTC really making this decision, they wanted to limit really the competition and just not hurt employees. They really wanted to like iron out the playing field. The idea was that non-competes are preventing workers from seeking good opportunities essentially. If we were not all that, We didn't want to prevent the team or your team from finding somewhere else to go. So that's why it's here, not, to hurt businesses, as some of us are like, oh, they keep doing stuff, regulating us to hurt our business. It's really not. It's really just to protect everyone. So if they do want to go on, again, the agreement is not locking them up and they're not tied to one thing. In a lot of cases, this restricted the ability to negotiate better pay, benefits, and flexibility when you have this non-compete clause. A lot of times, if you may heard, employers should move on after 5 years or so. They have found that when they do jump ship, they actually make more money. So again, think about everybody all the way around the board. But for you as a small business owner specifically, this might mean that, you have to reevaluate how you're going to move forward. Obviously, look at your onboarding process, look at your paperwork, and make sure that non-compete is no longer in your documents. We're now leveling the playing field, and we're going to talk about really like how this is going to impact your business today. So again, don't rely on the clause because we no longer can use it. Don't slip it in there. Don't save it. Just completely take it out because you would be in violation if you're still having people sign it. But you want to think about like a high value status in your business now. For pet sitters, dog walkers, groomers, trainers, anything in between, we want to put more value on the relationship that we're building with our clients. The concern that employees might take those relationships if they leave, that's really a lack mentality. Okay. We want to work with customers who value us, who know what we bring to the table. And if they, for any reason, want to leave with our staff members, we wish them well. You know why? Because just as the staff member readjusted and moved on, they will do the same thing to the client. You guys know all the time off they want to take, all the holidays they want to take, all the vacations they want to take. They're no longer going to be doing that when they're all putting their eggs in one basket like an independent contractor and having no backup. So the grass is obviously not going to be greener for the client. And that's what I think about. Like, go on. If you want to ride off in the wave, more power to you. But as a mass, you want to kind of think about the silver lining here. The change actually forces us to do better in our business. Really, it's like how we should have done it all along. Building a business that's not dependent on the fear of competition, but on creating more stronger community and, better service at the end of the day. Better service is going to help everybody. And if you have a good service, you have a good business, good company culture, people for the most part are going to want to stay with you. Now, the second part of this is non-competes being out of the toolbox. Like, what do we do now? Like, what would this relationship between employees, clients look like, especially if you're allowing a lot of your team to correspond in apps talking to your clients? Now, I personally don't like this method. For instance, in Time to Pet, if you're a dog walker pet sitter, the sitter walkers can just talk back and forth all day with their clients, and they typically do. As a business owner, I hear a lot, oh, I like this because I don't have to answer all the questions. The sitter knows what's going on. They can just respond quickly to the client. But what you're doing essentially is putting the sitter in the front of the house, right? We call it the front of the house and the back of the house. You're now relying on the sitter to speak for you, to use the words you're going to use, and to handle all issues or positives or negatives while they're still trying to keep the pet safe. So I prefer to leave client-facing issues in the back of the house. So when the client responds in Time to Pet, ask a question, the sitter will typically say, oh, great, the back of the house will take care of that. Oh, great, our office will take care of that. Whatever you call the back of the house, for us, the office, great, the office will take care of that. If they put in time off requests or cancellation requests, sounds great, the office will take care of that. So they know that even though they're the one that's going to take the chicken out the refrigerator or put the dog back in the crate or don't feed them on this visit, they're say, great, office will take care of it. You know what I'm saying? So that way they don't think they're actually talking to the sitter. They think they're talking to the office, which they may be talking to the sitter, but perception is everything. Make them think that they're talking to the back of the house, the office team, so that they don't then build this bonded relationship with the sitter, walker, groomer, and no longer need you. More importantly, we call it the single hat system. The single hat system ensures that you keep the dog safe, you take great pictures, good reports, great grooms, great training practices, and anything else, you actually have a back of the house team that's going to speak for you. Now the client gets invested in the we system and not the I system. The we system is the business. No matter who I send, no matter what shifts, you're invested in the we system, the business. Okay. Does that make sense? If you guys have questions on that, join the Automated CEO Universe group. We talk behind the scenes. This one is really big because I'm really big on the we and I's and separating the single hats from you and your clients. Even if you have no one, you better have someone in the background the clients are perceiving to be the back of the house, Back in the day, when I used to be in the automotive industry, we would make up a name and call Nancy. This is Natasha's assistant, Nancy. Okay. And you're talking to Nancy. If you wanted to book hotels or events, you would just use your assistant name, even if it's you. At the end of the day, you got to put two different hats on. One time I'm Natasha, second time I'm Nancy when I'm doing admin stuff. So you can kind of take that practice. But either way, you want to separate that client loyalty within your team because now they're becoming loyal to the staff member and no longer you. Okay. So you will still have confidentiality agreements. Confidentiality agreements, you can still have them sign that they're not going to share sensitive business information, client lists, pricing strategies, anything that has to do with your process they cannot share because it's confidential. Okay. This protects your business without restricting your employees' ability to work elsewhere. That's all this is saying. So, what happens in your business, the information they know is still confidential and still secret. They're just not taking it when they go. Okay. You still have non-solicitation clauses. So while the non-compete is no longer there, non-solicitation to me is the most important one. Okay. That agreement says that if you were to leave, you cannot actively contact or solicit the client for any reason. And it goes both ways. Client can't talk to employee and you can't talk to client, vice versa. When I sign my child up for daycare, in fact, as a client, I have to sign this form because the form says they work really hard to find their teachers and I can't solicit, use for, date night, anything like that. As a client, I have to sign that and I have no problem doing so. So again, there's a lot of things out here, a lot of use cases in different industries that we use. This is why in the Automated CEO universe, we don't just talk to pet pros. Very important that you see other industries and how we're doing things to grow your wheelhouse. Okay. You also can use your employee incentives or like loyalty programs. We love these because I really wanted to know if somebody wanted to grow their own business. My original initiative when I opened up my business in 2015 was to grow to multiple states and do it quickly. And with that, I knew that I needed a strong team. So if people were to tell me that, yeah, I actually want to open up my own pet business, or hey, Natasha, you make it look so easy. I want to do what you do. That was music to my ears. Now, for some of you, you might be like, oh no, they're going to steal my business or like do what I'm doing. But for me, it was like, great, let's lock arms and collaborate. So now we can go to more states, more territories as a team, and you can help me and be part owner or full owner of your territory, depending on how we want to structure it. You know what I'm saying? So those incentives could actually be beneficial to your long-term vision if that's a vision of yours. On top of that, of course, focus on offering competitive pay and benefits if you can, even time off. A lot of my team members wanted to take off, and having flexibility was very important to me. I wanted them to be flexible on my side. So that means I was flexible on their side. I had one staff member who went to Japan for a whole month every single year. Every single year, her and I knew that she was going to Japan for 1 year. And I love that for her. And I never got in the way of it. I don't think I've ever officially declined any group time off request because I always make sure we overstaff. So if someone wants to take off, I don't stand in the way of that. So think about what you value as a business, an owner, a CEO, and start building that in to really support and help your team. I hated being denied time off. Like all of us hate it. So I really didn't want to do that in my business either. So what kind of operational structure did I need to set up to make sure I didn't have to decline any time off? Now, this doesn't mean like, hey, I'm not coming in tomorrow. But when they requested within our time off policy, it was damn near approved. And that made me feel good as well. You also want to strengthen your client management. So, just the relationship you have with your clients overall, make sure you're offering exceptional service. Within the universe, I hear a lot of times that sometimes the client will feel the confidence to talk badly about you to your employees. I hear that from you guys a lot. They're like, oh, yeah, they mentioned it to my sitter that I don't have things in order, or, they think I'm new or young. They should not be making those type of comments. Needless to say, be comfortable and bold enough to say it to your actual team. So definitely check in with your clients. Surveys are great. Courtesy calls. If you guys been around me long enough, you know that I do 3-month courtesy calls that I always check in every 3 months to see what's going on via the phone. So on my calendar quarterly, it's on my list to call every single membership client, every single one. Okay. Yes, every single one, to make sure they're doing okay. So you may want to implement something like that in your business to build out, that client relationship. Of course, you want to work on your onboarding and your training systems, making sure that everyone's on the same page. They know where they should go to see these things. They know where to go to see procedures, to by a click of a button, could watch a training video if they needed to. But those are just ways to kind of build in without thinking about competition. If you're thinking about non-competes, you're thinking about going into the race and losing, right? Just you're like, I'm here on the finish, on starting line, but I'm gonna lose. You want to think about going in the race and winning. So what can I win by operating in a more authentic place without trying to put chains on my team for their future success? And how can I speak to them in a way that brings collaboration? Okay. So that's how I see this, non-compete thing. I've actually ditched it years ago. We didn't use non-competes from like 1 year after me being in business, like 2016. It was already out, just because I knew working in the automotive industry, it had no weight whatsoever. And I wasn't even going to like deal with it. So I took it out. For me, seeing it in company culture brought the culture down. So I already taken it out. But for you, you may have been told, maybe from HR, somebody else in your state, that you can keep it. But as of a couple months ago, it's been out like at least 5 months now. We're just talking about it in this episode today. Okay. So as a pet industry owner, you want to be the leader. You want to have a high status abundance, knowing that you don't need documents and all these things to protect you in a way that also locks down people's progress. Again, you want them to learn as much as they can from you, become the best version of themselves through you and your education, and use that to better their own lives. I'm a great salesperson, great customer relations person, because of all the training that Lexus and Mercedes has given me over the years, and I'm grateful for that. I will always think of them in my success. And you may want the same thing for your team. So if this episode resonated with you, or you had more questions, of course, meet us behind the scenes. Let's talk about it. I'll see you on the next episode.